Hey everybody, welcome to the Peer Review Podcast, a sort of working title for this, but basically me going to be recapping the most recent SC Naples match, and this week it's also going to be previewing our next match against Corpus Christi. Um, so, and I'll probably throw in a couple other things, but right now this is like a crash crash test run, whatever you want to call it. So welcome to the show. My name is Ryan. Um, First off, last week, great first game, perfect first game, winning 2-0 against Fort Wayne in their first ever match as a USL League One club. Previously, were in League Two, and a lot of questions going in about where our goals are going to come from, uh, how our defense was going to look with the two new center backs, and all in all, it looked like everything kind of worked out how we were kind of hoping it would. Basically, and this is according to like the setup from the broadcast. We ran a 4-3-3 formation with Delgado in goal as always, Cisneros and Glasser as the fullbacks, Yoder and Mastrantonio as our center backs, Diaz, Arias, and O'Connor in our midfield, Farine, Garcia, and Gray up top. Um, Overall, the first half, I would say for about the 40 minutes, it felt like we were kind of like trying to figure out, get our feet under it, and see how the team was gelling. Fort Wayne definitely were the better side at the beginning of the match. Um, a lot of like what I was thinking heading into the game was that the way we like to play, for like a better term, back to front, would play into how they wanted to play, which was controlling possession and pressing, which they did very much and kind of forced us to play a lot around the back. Um, but really getting past our defense, they could not figure it out. They had one chance early on. Delgado made a good save. And then as the half went on, we started to grow into the game, obviously. And then in the what was it, the 40 44th minute, 45th minute, just before stoppage time, finally got a play down the side, down the right hand side, and then it found its way to Garcia, who on a half volley smashed it into the goal, put us up 1-0 just before halftime. And then after halftime, it really did feel like we very much made adjustments and took control of the game. Um, there really wasn't any like real threat after halftime from Fort Wayne. They had a couple chances around the box, but never really put any real pressure on our goal. They had, I think, actually they had one chance that I think hit the post after halftime. um, then but really overall in the second half, it did feel like we controlled everything, or like we controlled the game a lot better in the second half than we did in the first half. It felt like we had a lot more of the opportunities that they they weren't getting. Um, and then 88th minute, Dominic Backstein, who came on as a sub, took advantage of a really bad pass that was well under hit and took it into the goal, or took it in and put it in for the second goal, putting us up 2-0 to win the game there. Um, and the funny thing about that was like we had just made a sub, and I was looking at the scoreboard to see what the sub was. Turned around, there's Backstein about to chip the keeper for that second goal. Um, Overall, for the game, it was about as well good as you can expect for our first game of the season, especially with the amount of roster turnover we had. Um, it's not something that I'm going to be like harping too much about with like like performances too much early on. It's just going to be where we're at, take it game by game for like the first few games until we have a better understanding of both how we're playing and how the rest of the league is playing. Um, and can't really complain too much. I would say the kind of hard trying to pick a man of the match first match of the season, but I guess like how he controlled the midfield, I would definitely say you could say Torres or Garcia. Torres could say was the when you could point to and say he was probably the best player overall. Delgado, good save. Uh, Garcia, obviously the goal. Um, Besides that, still too early to really like say much more than what I have already said. As for Fort Wayne, like I said, early start of the game, first 40 minutes, it really felt like they had us on the back foot, and once we kind of got our feet under us, got into the game, it felt like a lot more comfortable performance from us. Um, and really, as I said, the that was about as much as you could say. The one other thing of note was that the game at the very beginning felt very all over the place, like officiating wise. Like I'm not saying the referee was bad or anything like that, but like felt like both teams were trying to get their word I'm thinking of, make their mark on the game, and in an aggressive and physical sense, the referee started booking. Want to say very early on. First booking was in the 21st minute. It was Reyes. I did also feel like there was a couple other times where the referee did kind of let things go, but the way both teams were playing aggressively, it almost kind of felt like uh, there was a chance that a red card could have came, but it never did. Um, and like I said, first game of the season, 2-0 win. Can't be too complaint. Can't have too many complaints about the performance. First, obviously, like I said, first game of the season. As for like around the league, other scores of week one, there were three other games that were played. The other game that started at the same time as us was Westchester versus One Knoxville, the defending champions. One Knox won 3-2. Um, I've not really watched the highlights from that, so I can't really say how well either team played in that one. The game that I did wind up watching afterwards, and this is in part because of a weather delay that happened in Sarasota. It was Sarasota Paradise versus Boise. So their game got delayed about an hour and a half or something like that. And then game kind of felt like both teams trying to play it safe, cautious, and try to just find their openings. From what I saw, and then Boise got a late goal, held on, and they got their first win. Sarasota has to wait for theirs. And then the only other match of the night and weekend was AV Alta and Richmond Kickers coming to a 1-1 draw. So that's pretty much all the other scores we got from week one. Obviously, as a result of those scores, FC Naples currently leads the league on top of the standings by goal difference because we won 2-0. One Knox is second, Boise third, fourth and fifth is AV Alta and Richmond, and obviously the teams that didn't play, and then you got Westchester, Sarasota, and Fort Wayne at the bottom of the table for now. And now looking ahead to next week, obviously our game will be against Corpus Christi, another new team making their League One debut. And then elsewhere you have the New York Cosmos opening their USL League One campaign with Portland Hearts of Pine. You have Greenville Triumph versus Chattanooga Red Wolves, One Knox versus Fort Madison, Westchester versus Charlotte Independence, and Sarasota versus Fort Wayne. And then, as for our match against Corpus Christi, there's like it similar to Fort Wayne. Can't really say too much about like what to expect from Corpus Christi because they haven't played an official game yet. We don't know what their preferred 11 are. Um, Best I can say is like it's a team that's gonna be one that like gotta play it by ear heading in. They were one of the slower teams to announce their squad. They do, I would say, have the biggest like of the new teams. They had the biggest signing as they signed Christian Cheney, who was the top score, one of the best scorers for Charlotte Independence last season, and probably was one of the ones that I was most shocked to see like on the market for another team pickup. So the obvious thing is like keep an eye on him. Don't let him get free. Don't give him any opportunities. Um, I can't really say for certain about other players in this team. But one other thing of note from what I've read about them is their manager Iman Zad. I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry if I did. He previously was the manager for Northern Colorado Hailstorm, who won the inaugural edition of the USL Cup, and it'll be interesting to see where they head this season. As for the match itself, obviously the main question is like we don't know what to expect from Corpus Christi. Best I could do is guess from our point of view, and I would say, and from going into this match, I would say it's a little in the fog because we don't know what to expect from Corpus Christi. As for the match itself, I would say my prediction for the match would be probably a safe bet to another 2-0 win. Um, Obviously the main threat is Christian Cheney, and have to kind of see how they play with him. But overall, I think we're in a good spot to start the season, and best we can do is just move on or go take it game by game and see where we're at as things go on. So we'll see where we go from there. Obviously, game by game, start the season. Can't be too complacent with performances. Can't complain too much about performances, but game by game basis. So see you at the game and take care.